500 million years ago. The microcontinent was situated near the equator. The Western scientists called it Kazakhstania. The structure with almost full list of elements from the Mendeleev's table inside its depth. What secrets does Kazakhstan soil have? How rich is it? Natural resources are the history of our land for thousands of years.
A long caravan of loaded camels walked along the dusty roads of the ancient trade route called the Silk Road. Trains with creaking wheels and loaded with goods were breaking through winding roads under the scorching sun and torrential rains. Travelers, diplomats, and traders were looking forward to see the city at the foot of the mountains with snow-white peaks. Someone would find there a multilingual, motley, noisy bazaar, and someone would find a place for rest and move on. This ancient city was medieval Almaty, or Almaty. According to scientists, 1,000 years ago, that was the name of the current megapolis, which now is the largest in Kazakhstan. Probably several centuries ago, the geographical location of this area determined its relevance as one of the important sites on the Silk Road. How long did it take for the road that once became one of the arteries connecting different civilizations to appear? And what was under that road? How did the Earth's surface originate on place where the modern metropolis is located at the foot of the trans-Ili Alatau today? According to geologists, the history of the formation of this territory began during the Precambrian period, or approximately 550 million years ago.
Тогда здесь эта территория была представлена таким платформенным.
At that time, this territory was represented by a formation of rock platform, or might be said by an East Gondwana.
Где-то спустя миллионов.
Approximately 50 million years later, there was a smooth immersion of this territory, and an oceanic basin with an underwater animal world was formed. But it was represented mainly by microorganisms, probably by trilobites. But the remains of the fauna were not found. This is due to the fact that during the following period, volcanic activity widely manifested here, in the main arcs of both island and continental ones. From the depths of the ancient ocean, a chain of islands appeared. The prehistoric archipelago was formed as a result of collision of oceanic plates. To compare, Japanese and Kuril Islands were formed the same way. By the way, volcanic deposits of those times can still be found in the highlands of the Zailiyski Alatau. After millions of years, the land began to rise gradually. During the Triassic period, more than 250 million years ago, plains intermittent with small hills appeared here. And the lull followed. For a while, these lands calmed down, seismic activity decreased. And then the moment came when the birth of the mountains of the trans-Ili Alatau began.
Это порядка 20 миллионов лет назад, когда
That happened approximately 20 million years ago, as an echo of the collision of Hindustan with Asia. This is a rather long process. Well, if we're talking about Kantangri, imagine that during 15 to 20 million years, it had been growing to the top of 5,000 or even 7,000 meters. The process doesn't stop, it still continues. It goes the same rate,
будущем.
The attenuation of this growth is not foreseen in the future. This process will continue. Process. It forms the conditions of the region, certain types of minerals, and relief. The specifics of the mountainous terrain landscape of the Almaty region are hollows and lowlands. The city is located in one of it. Almaty has a unique high-altitude location. The northernmost point of the city has the mark of 670 meters above the sea level, and the southernmost is 970 meters. By the way, as Kazakhstani people like to joke, native Almaty residents can always be recognized by their vertical orientation on the ground. There's the top of the city and its bottom. The upper part of the modern metropolis is located on the so-called foothill stub or alluvial cones.
Если смотреть вот в Алмате с какой-нибудь более-менее
If you look at Almaty from a high point to see the whole city, you will be able to see a sort of triangles, as if sand was piled up in a heap. That is alluvial cone.
вот это и есть конуса выноса.
There are many such cones, which have different ages and stretch along the whole ridge. For millions of years of formation and growth, the territory of Almaty and its surroundings have gained own predisposition to certain minerals. Basically, these are gold rare metal and lead zinc compounds. They are the main directions of search by geologists. Among the well-known deposits is the Kazakh ore field. It relates to the northern slope of the trans-Ili Alatau range and is composed of formations of the pre-Paleozoic and lower Paleozoic age. Three types of ore are distinguished at this deposit: lead zinc, arsenopyrite, and pyrite and magnetite pyrite. Also, a number of small gold deposits are located in this region. Usually, such deposits are located higher in the mountains. Today, mining at the small fields is not economically viable, but for medieval masters, such small deposits were quite convenient and profitable.
На территории города Алматы были найдены множественные клады.
Numerous treasures of bronze tools from the Bronze Age were found on the territory of Almaty.
Кроме этого, на территории города...
Furthermore, the Bronze Age settlements and burial grounds were also discovered on the territory of Almaty.
Орудия труда, выполненные из бронзового...
Tools made of bronze were revealed. Scientists believe that Jetusu was one of the centers of metallurgy and production of bronze tools. There were some specific features inherent only to the masters who worked in Jetusu. There was also a mining center on the territory of Jetusu, which is the ancient copper mines in the area of Kordai. The Central State Museum of the Republic of Kazakhstan stores a collection of tools used to extract copper ore. And this is not the only proof that mining and metallurgy were quite developed in the Semirechye region. Thus, bronze boilers were found at the foothills of the trans-Ili Alatau, to produce which metal was extracted at the local mines as well. Many things made by the Jetusu masters were even exported abroad. Artifacts that were found during excavations in neighboring China prove that. These bronze wares have exclusive features and are made using the technique of Semirechye artisans. A medieval smithy discovered during excavations can tell a lot about the level of development and culture of the inhabitants of the ancient settlements located on the territory of Almaty. The iron blanks prepared by the master and the furnace where he melted the metal remained in the room.
В начале 70-х годов при строительстве
In the early 70s, during the construction of the building of the Border Guard Service Institute, a smithy was excavated, with a blacksmith's dwelling next to it. And according to these architectural structures, it could be assumed that this was already a center of the city where craft workshops were located. There were found blacksmith's bellows and some items used for melting. Masters used forging blanks of rectangular or oval shape as well as scrap.
форму либо прямоугольную,
And
либо
exactly this scrap was found.
использовали лом. Лом и заготовки были найдены. Вот
This shows that both imported and locally mined metals were used.
металл тоже использовался. И привозной металл, и местный металл добывали.
The huge territories surrounding the trans-Ili Alatau are especially rich in mountainous sedimentary and mountainous rocks. Limestone, marble, granite. All these deposits were formed thanks to the birth of the majestic mountains. One of such underground storerooms is the Kurti deposit, which is located not far from Almaty. This quarry is rich with brown granite. It is a valuable and rather rare species of this rock. Granite is one of the beautiful creations of nature, a symbol of eternity and immutability. Throughout their existence, humans have immortalized their creations in it. This metamorphic rock was formed 300 million years ago. Under the influence of pressure and heat, hot magma melted minerals around itself. All this porridge, boiled by nature, had been cooling down for a few millions of years. So, it was baked lava that turned into granite. Our granite has a brown color because of melting of the surrounding rocks. Brown is not a native color of granite. This Kurti granite is original and valuable because there is no such dark brown granite anywhere in the world. It is characterized by a low content of radionuclides. It is used for any kind of construction. Decorative qualities are high enough. That's why granite is so popular in Kazakhstan as a decorative stone. Granite of the Kurti deposit literally comes to the Earth's surface and has natural faults, which facilitates its extraction. So rock is kept here in solid slabs of huge size. They say there were magnificent mountains here, but after millions of years the sedimentary rock has turned into dust, by thus exposing the massif of granite, which is now actively mined. In its depth, the magnificent trans-Ili Alatau hides one more life from the outside world. Tectonic fault is a zone where the integrity of the Earth's crust is broken. It is a certain deformation seam that divides the natural massif into two parts. This feature is typical for any mountains. It is generally believed that mineral deposits, including groundwaters, are the reason of the crustal faults, and that means high risk of seismic activity for people who are living on the ground surface. According to scientists, tectonic faults appeared near the city of Almaty a long time ago. Some stopped to function, but new ones added. The so-called Paleozoic foundation is divided into several parts. They are all in motion, with some part coming down and the other coming up. The movement of plates has been continuing from the time of the Paleozoic era to nowadays. There were three strongest earthquakes in the history of Almaty. They occurred in the end of 19th and beginning of 20th centuries. Their strength reached 10 to 12 points. The natural force broke houses and provoked floods. Those tragic lessons were not in vain. Today, the Institute of Seismology is involved in forecasting earthquakes and researching to ensure seismic safety of the country.
В районе города Алматы и окрестностей создана специальная служба. Что это за служба?
A special service agency has been set up in Almaty and the surrounding area.
Где?
The service agency was created in order to answer three main questions.
Я сражаюсь
Which area has a risk of strong, catastrophic earthquakes?
в области сейсмологии.
I would like to immediately answer this question.
Этот вопрос в состоянии ответить.
Modern science of seismology in Kazakhstan is able to answer this question.
Во всяком случае, в ближайшие годы
Now we know where the next, or in other words, upcoming major earthquake will occur.
Если уж готовится землетрясение,
Secondly, if an earthquake is expected, then some physical processes take place in the Earth's crust.
проконтролировать,
And the question is how to control the consequences of these processes.
было оснастить сейсмическим.
Consequently, it is necessary to equip the seismic network with modern equipment. And we have installed such equipment on the territory of Almaty region.
Область мы создали.
The peculiarities of the structure of the Earth's crust on the territory of Almaty and the region require a corresponding approach in regard to the construction of facilities. In connection with the rapid growth of the population, the construction speed is also growing. For example, only in the past decade, the number of inhabitants of a metropolis has increased up to 500,000. The developed infrastructure, residential houses, roads, office buildings, hospitals, schools, sports facilities are needed for normal life of the city. At the same time, all buildings must be safe. Therefore, the design and construction of all facilities presents a serious scientific, technical, and engineering task. The study of the upper strata of the Earth's crust and its interaction with engineering structures deals with engineering geology. Exactly in Almaty, the only department of hydrogeology and engineering geology in the country works in one of the oldest state higher educational institutions, which is the Kazakh National Research Technical University, named after Kanish Satpayev. Its history began in 1932. Since then, more than 4,000 graduates of this branch have finished the university. Understanding the nature of the Earth's surface is necessary to build solid constructions. That is why today, geological engineers are particularly in demand. Modern realities call for necessity of close interaction of theory and practice, introduction of the results of scientific research into everyday life. 8 years ago, scientists who were working at the department together with experts from the Committee of Geology and Subsoil Use carried out a tremendous work. Its result was the creation of an engineering geological map of Kazakhstan. Today, the materials that this scientific work contains help in the construction of roads, dams, buildings, bridges, and airports.
Инженерно-геологической карте, во-первых, само говорит геологическое, во-первых, там в основном геологические информации.
All information about the rocks of Kazakhstan is divided by territories on the engineering geological map, and engineering geological columns are constructed.
Построена инженерно-геологическая колонка. В этой инженерно-геологической колонке
This engineering geological column describes the characteristics of rocks and soils.
также описываются характеристики
In general, the physical and mechanical properties,
физико-механические свойства и вот текучесть, влажность, все
and also the age of rocks.
грунта в этих колонках описывается.
There is a full information.
Все возраст горных пород, все как геологическом карте, в этом информация очень насыщенная.
At the end of the last century, at the end of the Soviet Union period, a bold project was born. However, its fate was to be realized only after more than 2 decades and already in another country. It was decided to build the subway in the largest city of Kazakhstan, the first in the Republic and the second in the countries of Central Asia. In 1983, the design of underground transport routes was started and the first sketches of the stations appeared. 5 years later, the project realization began. However, due to historical events, such as the collapse of the USSR, the construction of the subway was delayed, but it did not stop. The scientists say that uniqueness and complexity of this project are determined by a series of geotechnical factors. The subway is located in the foothills. Here are special geodynamics and danger of earthquakes. It is worth noting that during the construction of the subway, many people told about the risks associated with the special geological structure of the city. Some, for example, feared that passing through the lower part of Almaty, subway tunnels will fall into the zone of saturation with groundwater, and then it will end up in the spring zones. In addition, there were fears that the subway would intersect with the lines of tectonic faults. Accordingly, The engineers took measures to comply with the technology and the absolute jewelry accuracy of the project implementation. And today, the Almaty subway has right to be recognized as one of the safest and most beautiful in the world. The underground highway stretches along the mountains, but once you get out of the depths of cool tunnels, the view of magnificent, majestic ridges opens. They're reflected in the windows of skyscrapers and the mirrored windows of modern architectural cascades. The designers of the new image of Almaty are inspired by the natural beauty of the trans-Ili Alatau, the experience of erecting high-rise structures abroad and experimenting. The highest building of the metropolis was built in 2008. It is located on one of the city highways that is running along the mountains from west to east. Built earlier as the southern border of Almaty, the Yesentai Towers building is 168 meters high and has 36 floors.
Гармоничная синергия гор и городского пространства.
Harmonious synergy of mountains and urban space. These elements were brought to the city. It looks like the crystal, which was born inside the city. We tried to unite the mountains with the city. Today we have perception that mountains and the city stand separately, but Almaty is a city in the mountains. Therefore, we decided to bring this idea into this project. Of course, except for aesthetics, the architects and designers of this building had to take into account all the features of the structure, of the earth's surface, of the city, and understand how the building will manifest itself in the conditions of the seismic zone. The implementation of the pilot project began in 2005. Together with specialists and skyscraper designers, a special exclusive program was developed. During construction, the most stringent international standards were applied, which are necessary for ensuring safety. And of course, one of the conditions is seismic resistance. In order to catch the smallest fluctuations, the tower has 30 seismic sensors mounted inside the walls, which are connected to a server that collects data from devices. Then the information comes to the center, where it is processed. And as the employees of the company say, for the whole period of operation, the fluctuations of the building during earthquakes are minimal. This was achieved through special constructive solutions. In addition to 36 floors above the ground, the tower also goes tens of meters down. 4 floors of the building are occupied by a parking lot. Underground floors are located on 800 stilts, also made with using special technology.
Сам конструктив здания, несущие элементы здания, выполнены из бетона.
The structure of the building and the supporting elements are made of concrete B60 grade.
Дам, плотин, советское время.
This brand of concrete was used in the construction of dams in the Soviet era.
Гибкие элементы.
That means that this concrete was not used in civil engineering.
Швы, это все должно присутствовать в здании.
Flexible elements are made of concrete of lower density.
Да, то есть несущие.
Obligatory elements are seismic seams.
Данное стекло.
For the glazing of the building, a special glass was used, which if destroyed, will not fall as whole canvas.
Стекло, то есть оно разрушает.
It collapses into small pieces, which is safe for people around.
То есть таким образом безопасное падение, да?
Modern Almaty is a metropolis filled with traffic noise, buzz of busy streets, colored by the lights of multi-story buildings. It became like that after thousands of years, during which humans had mastered this interesting, unusual, sometimes dangerous, but unusually beautiful foothill terrain. For millions of years of existence, trans-Ili Alatau had been a silent witness of appearance, blossoming, and disappearance of entire civilizations and eras. But the land of Almaty and surrounding mountains store huge layers of not only human history in its bowels. Scientists have calculated that the ridges of the northern Tian Shan grow for several millimeters every year. And this means that the geological history of the mountainous country and the city at its foot is still continuing.